Good morning, and we're continuing to work our way through Isaiah 40, which is taking a lot longer than it took because we work our way through some of the other chapters in the early parts of Isaiah. And that's because it's a lot more hopeful. I say the other parts are important, and the judgment and all that, but if we're honest, it's chapters like chapter 40 which really raise our spirits. So let's read it. We'll do 12 to 20. Who has measured the waters in the hollow of his hand, or with the breadth of his hand marked off the heavens? Who has held the dust of the earth in a basket, or weighed the mountains on the scales and the hills in a balance? Who can fathom the Spirit of the Lord, or instruct the Lord as his counsellor? Whom did the Lord consult to enlighten him? And who taught him the right way? Who was it that taught him knowledge, or showed him the path of understanding? And what this is saying is just, well, first of all, realise how great God is. And then realise how much greater he is than all the things we see around us. Greater than the world. Greater than people. Greater than ourselves. There is just no comparison. When we face problems, our natural reaction is to work out, how can I overcome this? And that's okay. A lot of the time that's okay. That's what we should do. We should try to work things out and try to solve them. But then we know there are times when we face things and we think and we realise there's nothing we can do. We need to realise how small we are and how great is our God. And it says, who instructed him? Who told him what to do? Who can fathom the Spirit of the Lord, or instruct the Lord as his counsellor? Whom did God consult? God didn't ask us how to make the universe. Didn't need to. We need to realise our smallness, and that can bring hope. So let's go on to the next few verses. Surely the nations are like a drop in a bucket. They're regarded as dust on the scales. He weighs the islands as though they were fine dust. Lebanon is not sufficient for altar fires, nor its animals enough for burnt offerings. Before him all the nations are as nothing, and they're regarded by him as worthless and less than nothing. And that doesn't mean God doesn't care about the nations. But Israel was at the mercy of the nations. Babylon had conquered her. Babylon was holding her in captivity. So it'd be natural to fear Babylon. But God's saying, Babylon's nothing. You don't need to fear her. And goes on, whom then will you compare God? To what image will you liken him? As for an idol, a metal worker casts it. A goldsmith overlays it with gold and fashions silver chains for it. A person too poor to present such an offering selects wood that will not rot. They look for a skilled worker to set up an idol that will not topple. The Babylonians and all the other civilizations at that time had all sorts of idols which they set up, which they revered and held up as being great. And God here just says, what are these things? They're just put together by men. And we can look around the world, our world at the moment. Whatever we see, whatever forces we see, they are nothing compared to our God. And we need to realise the greatness of our God. Amen.